One day when my daughter was around 3 years old, I went into her room to check on her while she was playing. She was sitting on the floor talking to someone, but there was no one there. She then turned to me and said, "Mommy, why don't you play with us?" I asked her, "Who are you talking to?" She replied, "Well, this is my friend Thomas. He's really shy." So it seemed like an innocent, imaginary friend. However, it wasn't. She started asking for Thomas all the time. Like, "Where's Thomas? Can I go get Thomas?" I even heard her say, "Thomas, come play with us," out loud. She would talk to him while holding her stuffed animals like they were Thomas or his friends. And we never had any stuffed animals that looked like a little boy. It didn't end there. It got worse. One night I heard her screaming in her room, "No, Thomas, stop it, don't hurt me." Then she started crying and calling for me. When I got into her room, she was sitting on the floor with her back against the wall, and all of her stuffed animals were lined up in front of her. She was then mumbling to herself, "Thomas wants to hurt me. He wants to kill me. He wants to take my eyes out and eat them. He wants to cut off my fingers and feed them to the dogs. He wants to rip off my skin and make me into a doll." I instantly panicked. What the hell is going on here? I called her name and she stopped mumbling. She then stood up and gave me a big hug. "I love you, Mommy," she said. I hugged her back and thought, thank God that was just a nightmare. But what kind of nightmares does a 3-year-old have? I tried to brush it off, but I couldn't help but worry. It's not normal, right? This was only the beginning. Over the next few days, my daughter became extremely withdrawn. She wouldn't play or interact with anyone. All she would do is sit quietly by herself, staring off into space. It was as if she was somewhere else. Her behavior was so concerning that I took her to her pediatrician, who did some tests and determined that she was perfectly healthy. The doctor suggested that it might be a phase that she's going through and to just wait it out. But I knew something was wrong. My daughter had never acted like this before. Something was clearly bothering her. Felt like I had to get to the bottom of this. At night, I would lay in bed listening for any strange sounds from my daughter's room. Some nights I would hear her laughing hysterically. Other nights I would hear her screaming and crying. It was like she was living a double life. Couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her about Thomas. I sat her down on the couch and asked her point blank, "Who is Thomas?" She looked at me with a confused expression. "What do you mean? You don't remember?" I pressed her. "Tell me about Thomas." She hesitated for a moment, then began to speak in a monotone voice. "Thomas is my boyfriend. He's 22 years old. He lives with me in our house. He likes to play video games and watch TV. He's really good at math and science. He loves pizza and ice cream. He has brown hair and blue eyes. He's tall and strong." I was shocked. How could my 3-year-old have a boyfriend? "What kind of things are you made up, sweetheart? Are you sure you're not making this up?" She nodded her head slowly. "I'm not making it up. Thomas is real. I've never met him, and he doesn't live with us." "He lives in your closet, doesn't he, Thomas?" "Yes, he lives in the closet," she replied. As soon as she said that, I ran to the closet and opened the door. There was nothing in there except for some clothes. I turned back to my daughter, who was now staring at the closet with a blank expression on her face. I went back into the closet and closed the door. Why did I get the feeling that she wasn't looking at the same thing that I was? I came out of the closet again and asked her, "Do you want me to read you a book now?" She replied, "No, thank you." I decided to change the subject and asked her what she wanted to do the next day. "I want to go to the park," she said. I smiled and said, "Okay, we'll go to the park tomorrow." Inside, I was freaking out. How could I take my daughter to the park when she had a boyfriend waiting for her at home? I couldn't let Thomas win. I was determined to find out who he was. The next morning, I took my daughter to the park and told her to play on the swings while I went to the bathroom. As soon as I walked into the bathroom, I heard a voice in my head saying, "You can't escape me. You can't hide. I'll always be with her. Even if you try to run away, I'll find you. And when I do, you'll regret it." I froze. Was this Thomas? Was he trying to communicate with me telepathically? I quickly shook my head to clear it. I was just imagining things. I walked out of the bathroom and saw that my daughter was no longer on the swing. Where did she go? I looked around and saw a bush that was moving slightly. Could she be hiding in there? I walked over to the bush and said, "Are you hiding in there?" No reply. "Come out, sweetie. It's time to go home now." Still no reply. I reached out to grab her, but then I stopped. Something about the bush didn't seem right. It was like the leaves were moving on their own. I took a step back, And that's when I saw it. The bush was growing and moving towards me. I screamed and ran away. When I turned around, the bush was gone. Had I imagined that too? I searched for my daughter everywhere, but I couldn't find her. I called her name, but there was no reply. I was starting to panic. What if I had lost her? What if Thomas had taken her? Just then, I saw a little girl walking towards me. It was my daughter, but something was different. She was no longer wearing the cute pink dress that I had put her in that morning. Instead, she was wearing a long black coat. And underneath her left arm, I could see the distinct shape of a human head. My blood ran cold. Who was the head underneath her arm, and where had she been? I don't know. That's when she turned to me and smiled. And underneath her arm, the head smiled too. I think I screamed because someone, please tell me how a 3-year-old could carry a head underneath her arm. Who's that? I asked, my voice trembling. She looked at me with a blank expression on her face and replied, "This is Thomas. He wanted to say goodbye." I instantly understood. My daughter hadn't just been talking to an imaginary friend. She had been talking to a real one. But now it was too late. Thomas had won.